What's going on, guys? Play Gaming here, back with another Epic 7 video, and today we're taking a look at Closer Charles. So if you haven't already gotten a chance to see his S3 in action, it's not the best, right? It's not the best. We really expected, well, I at least really expected something really nice compared to all of the other newer ML5s like Solitaria, right? She has like a beautiful S3 animation. Even ML Kuerik, right? Even though his kit is not great, but his animation is also really nice. So Closer Charles jumps out of a helicopter and then electrocutes the enemies. I think they could have done more with that. I definitely think there was a lot of potential to keep it along the same lines of what he has in his regular base green form. And he splits a planet, right? He splits the planet with his S3 here. He just kind of jumps out of a helicopter and then that's pretty much it. But he looks cool. His kit does look kind of amazing. So whether or not that's going to push him to, I guess, make me want to pull, I don't know. We got to kind of wait and see. But let's take a look at his stats here. So with Closer Charles, we are getting a Dark Thief. So he is a pretty much a knight that just runs crazy RNG, right? The green version. But this one, he's a Scorpio, he's a thief. He does still have that imprint concentration where he gets 16.8% crit chance. So I think with him, if you do have imprint copies, and we'll talk about this in a little bit, his passive gives him that violet perception buff, right? Where he gets 15% crit chance. So you technically could, I guess, triple S him and get almost like a free 32% crit chance just from imprints and that perception buff. So it could make building him and dealing damage with him kind of insane. So he has decent health, pretty nice attack. He has that 23% crit, and he looks cool, right? He looks cool. But let's take a look at his S3 here. Well, his S2, Closer. After an ally, except for the caster attacks, if the enemy's health is less than 30%, increases combat readiness of the caster by 35% and grants perception for 2 turns. And it can only be activated every 2 turns. So the perception gives him a crit chance and crit damage buff by 15%. So if you build him, so ideally his build is going to be 85% crit. Just because you get that perception puts him at 100% crit. But if you're able to get some imprints into him, self-imprint gives him additional crit chance, makes him easier to build for damage and speed. And so again, he's gonna go when the enemy's health is less than 30%. So that kind of already limits how he can be used because you're gonna have to play aggressive, right? So if you're playing aggressive, you're doing damage, he's gonna be able to proc the perception and the S2 here, right? So let's take a look here. Opsig is gonna deal some damage, right? On this example, I think the ML Ken goes, hits the Opsig below 30%, and then he's able to get that CR push, right? And then from the CR push, you'll be able to hit with the S3 here. So attacks all enemies after descending, increasing attack of all allies, so he gives everybody an AoE attack buff for 2 turns and increases combat readiness by 20%. He also gets an increased evasion for 3 turns, so that's what's giving him survivability as a thief. Soul burn 10 souls for extra damage, and of course you're going to want to max the skill enhance out just to deal as much damage as possible. Let's see if they show us what that looks like here. So this is the helicopter, right? Jumps out of the helicopter, surfs down, and then electrocutes everybody. He does kind of decent damage, but look, you have to remember that this is a full squishy team, right? There is no adamant, there's no Arius. This is a full cleave team, right? Opsig opens up, pushes everybody forward with the C-Dom. C-Dom goes, pushes everybody forward again, and then Flan RB cleave, right? But Here you're going turn 2 pretty much, but it's still an aggressive turn 2 because you got the ML Ken. ML Ken is going to pop somebody or at least bring them below 30%. And you have to remember, it's not 50%, it's not 70%, it's 30%. So you have to remember that whatever kind of damage you deal, Charles is not going to proc his stuff until they're below that 30%. So again, you got to play kind of aggressive with him. And then he's going to do pretty decent damage against some squishies, right? His S1 here sharply cuts the enemy when used on the caster's turn if the caster is granted perception. Uses demolition instead of elimination. So the demolition attacks the enemy with a sword. Damage dealt increases proportional to the target's lost health. When the enemy is defeated, decreases cooldown of descent by 1 turn. You can't trigger a dual attack. So if he has, perception. So if you bring him down to the 30% mark, he gets the CR push, he gets the perception, and then on his next turn, if you don't do the S3 right, if you go with S1, he's going to use demolition. And that demolition is going to do more damage the lower HP they have. So again, this kind of involves bringing whatever units to deal as much damage as possible so that they're really, really low on health. And again, he's going to close out the game pretty much. So he's looking like kind of like a cleave option. Even on that turn 2 team that they brought him along with. Let's see if we can get an example of that here. Yeah, so he does big damage there, right? That low HP, and then he gets a cooldown on his descent by 1 turn. So there you go. So not too bad. So let's take a look in game though right now. We have Spectre Tenebria. So we got a couple of days left before Spectre Tenebria leaves. If you didn't already know, you can actually get Spectre Tenebria for free from that Moonlight Blessing. If you've already used your Moonlight Blessing on someone other than Spectre Tenebria, then you probably were considering pulling for her. She's a very, very good unit in game for PvE and PvP. However, she does have a pretty high gear requirement. So if you're not too sure who you should pull for, whether Spectre Tenebria or Closer Charles, I would lean towards Spectre Tenebria if you're newer to the game, just because she's going to be able to do a lot more for you as far as PvP goes, as far as PvE goes as well. So she's going to help you everywhere in game. Charles though, Charles looks more like just PvP, right? RTA potentially, maybe even Guild Wars. I think he could potentially be pretty good in Guild War, just because you do tend to do a lot of damage, especially because sometimes they don't always put knight units on their defense, right? They don't have knight units, then you're probably going to push them below that 50%, even below the 30%. It's going to allow him to deal a lot of damage. But again, you have to remember that if you're going to play Charles, I'm pretty sure you're going to have a very hyper aggressive team. So at least like you saw that ML Ken, someone that can counter, someone that can do big damage before he goes, right? Because ideally you don't want him to be too fast. If he's too fast, you'll be able to do the S3, give everybody attack buff. But what you really want is the closer, right? You really want the perception. And this actually gives them up to 50%. I think 50% combat readiness, which is kind of insane. That's why I think that his kit actually looks pretty cool. And then with the S1, you can't do dual attacks, but what you can do is deal even more damage, right? So he's pretty much going to finish things out for you. That's why I said I think he's going to be pretty good in GVG. His S3 alone makes me not want to pull for him. So there is that. It's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. But I mean, he has increased evasion for a thief. That's always really good. I think it could be kind of crazy. His kit does seem really solid. But should you pull for him? And I always recommend this. If you're not sure, wait until a few people, different content creators, have pulled this unit and test them out. But for example, my playstyle, I don't play super aggressive, hyper aggressive to where I'm going to do big damage on like turn 1, even turn 2 for me. So I probably am not going to pull him or pull for him. I don't have enough mystics. I only have 4,000 mystics. So even if I wanted to pull him, I'm 140 away, which is not enough. I think it's what, like 7,000 mystics I would need in order to guarantee pity him. And I don't think if he's a unit that I really want to pity, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll throw a couple of mystics his way, but I definitely think that he's going to be very PvP oriented and somewhat difficult to build. You're going to want to build him again pretty fast with as much damage as possible. He has no debuffs, so you don't have to worry about effectiveness. He has that built-in 15% crit, so it makes him a little bit easier to build. But again, in order to activate the perception, you have to have an enemy that's 30% or less their HP, right? So if you don't, if you try to bring him on a bruiser team, he won't be granted that perception until someone is lower than 30%. So it effectively nullifies that 15% that you would get from perception and makes him one of those units that like ML Kawazu, where if you bring him into single target damage, he's never going to do anything, right? Because his S2 passive, the way that it works, is he needs to get hit with an AoE in order to get that vigor buff and then do crazy stuff. And it's somewhat similar to Charles. He does have, I guess, a specific need to activate something in his kit, which can make him somewhat situational, right? And depending on, again, on how you play, you're really going to need that damage. But that's going to be it for me. Let me know your thoughts on Closer Charles. What do you think about his S3? Is it amazing? Is it the best S3? Who has the best ML5 S3 in the game? Let me know in the comment section below. Like always, if you have enjoyed the video, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hey, think about subscribing. It really helps the channel grow and reach more people like you who like content like this. Like always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.